This is Suburban On Air and Cohen in the City. Here is Mike Cohen.
Welcome to Suburban On Air, Cohen in the City. And when I first met Sophie Grégoire, it was back in 2004. You were engaged to a fellow by the name of Justin Trudeau, someone I think a few of us have heard of. And you were a reporter at eTalk on CTV, and you came to speak at Laurel Hill Academy in Saint Laurent, where I work at the school board by day. We were talking about body image, eating disorders, and it was something close to your heart. And I can't believe, Sophie, 18 years, you haven't aged at all in that time. And
I have.
wow,
Look at my forehead.
I don't see it. I don't see it.
I have, trust me.
Well, anyhow, now you're Canada's first lady. You're the mom of three. But you remain an advocate for all these important causes. Mental health being one of them, and you're now doing a new video series in English and French for El Quebec, and I saw the first one. Tell us about it.
So it's for El Quebec in French and for El Canada, for the whole country in English, and it's about taking a moment in your day to be okay to not be okay. So it's called It's Okay to Not Be Okay, because we all go through periods where we're not okay. And as somebody who suffered from eating disorders and anxiety, I have, I told my story more than 15 years ago, but it's still so relevant today. And it is not my story. It is our story. When it comes to mental health, it's not because you don't have a mental illness that you're not somewhere on the spectrum or on the continuum of trying to find balance in your mind, in your body, and in your life. So I think that we need to continue to have really important conversations about our own stories of suffering, and we should never compare sufferings, ever, because each individual has their own, story of heartache and mind ache and body ache through time and through life. So these capsules, It's Okay to Not Be Okay, will be interviewing inspiring Canadians. So today I interviewed Colleen Saidman-Yee, who is an internationally acclaimed yoga teacher and former model, and Catherine O'Hara is coming on soon. We have lots of personalities across the country that are going to share their stories. And to be honest, they are really authentic and vulnerable conversations that we would have, at the kitchen table or having a drink with a friend or whatever it is, how you can find. We need to get those stories and those conversations out into the public sphere so that nobody feels ashamed, guilty, or not safe when they talk about what they're going through. Because for me, social progress, the progress of humanity, does reside, and so does justice and feminism and equality for all, the riverbed of well-being mentally really sustains justice, feminism, and more equality. Because if we don't understand our emotions better, and if we are in fixed mindsets, danger awaits, because we must have more compassion and empathy towards ourselves in order to have it for others in the world, especially during times of crisis.
Very interesting. Did you have a role in choosing the guests?
Oh, absolutely. I participated for the content of the show from the get-go. And so, yes, we try to choose people who we feel are inspiring, but really are vulnerable and authentic enough to really be honest about in their approach to well-being and how they've gone through adversity.
I'm very eager to see Catherine O'Hara, big fan of hers. And of course, I like you, I watched the show Schitt's Creek. I'll say it, yes. the name Schitt's Creek. I watched every single episode, binged it. It was great, and I love her, and I can't wait to hear. So, were you a fan of hers as well?
Absolutely, I watched Schitt's Creek a while ago, and I would rewatch it all over again. I just love every single character. I love the humor of it. I love the every part of how they played out with a humor note, things that are real and yes. happen. So yes. I thought it was just so lovely, so lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is your overall goal when this whole series is over? What do you hope to have accomplished?
It's always linked to my life goal of how I want to give to the world because of the love that I have inside me. I think, I ask myself, will I have loved enough, and will I have given enough space to people to feel that they can heal? Because every single human being on this planet wants to be loved and accepted for who they are. And in every single project that I've chosen in the past 15 years, I have to say now at 46, I can say this with humility, that I feel integrity in the work that I do, because I choose it when it feels right and when I know I can make a difference. So my only hope is that it gives people a break in their day where they can slow down, where they can exhale and really take perspective and know that they are never alone when it comes to traversing and going through the fog of what life can be, navigating through the fog and not seeing clearly, and having debris all over our minds, and not feeling that we're allowed to become who we really should become, and realize our true potential. And again, we're all one trauma away from one another. It takes one traumatic life event to change your mind, to change how your brain works, to change your body. So I raise my kids, when we walk down the street and there's somebody asking for money or whatever it is, I'm always like, hey, that could be you or me. Soon, you don't know what can happen to you. So we have to feel that our differences as human beings do not make us adversaries at all. We should bank up on that as the most positive thing in the world, that we can learn from each other. But obviously it's life is not all pink and unicorn. So we have to work harder when it comes to well-being, so that we push the conversations further and allow people to speak their truth.
Yes, and you're doing this show. Isn't it remarkable? You're doing this from your home. In this day and age, because of COVID, we have Zoom, we have all these things. So you don't even have to leave your home, and you can host it right from there, right?
Right. Well, I'm not in my home now, because there is an office where I collaborate with the people that help me produce these segments. Because now rules have just started to
loosen,
to mellow, and obviously, as soon as I'm done with this, I put my mask back on and all that. But yeah, I mean, it does give more flexibility, and that's one thing we've learned through the pandemic, that we can reach out to people without being in front of them. Not the same thing as a hug or as, human contact, but still it's a way to really keep a social network that can keep us sane through the crisis.
Yes. So mental health, obviously one of your issues that you like to talk about, but there's a number of others. Gender equality, that's something else that you talk about.
So for me, it's all related, right? Because when we have mental well-being throughout a society, we allow ourselves to have more equality, more justice. This is why I was saying mental health is the riverbed for all those other social justice projects that we're undertaking. Because without truly understanding where our anger stems from, how we can transform it, redirect it, especially in times of crisis, we're seeing so much division, and we have to continue when it comes to feminism, equality, and mental well-being. We have to look at the facts, the research, and the science, and we have to stop dividing ourselves over it, because facing the truth is one of the hardest things we'll ever do as individuals and as a society. Sometimes the truth is not convenient, and it asks us to work harder and go against the current, and it takes a lot of resilience to navigate crisis. But I think the most important thing is that we don't live our lives for ourselves exclusively. We can't become better people without the other. And I'm an only child, so I think that I developed this sense of feeling a home in others and searching for a home in others to in some ways compensate for part of the solitude that I was feeling as a child. So I'm not a human being that has ever felt hatred, or especially exclusively directed anger in ways that overwhelm my mind, because for me, the other can be a refuge. And I really feel sad when I see people not feeling well and not being well, and wanting to be somewhere else than where they are. So, I've developed my own discipline and work throughout the years. And I wouldn't have been able to say this earlier on, and now I see more young people practicing meditation, perspective, consciousness exercises, breathing exercises. We can be on our phones for hours every day, but we can't take 5 minutes to breathe and be in silence.
Yeah.
What does that say about us? We
Yeah.
need to slow down and take perspective on what's going on, not only to understand what's going on, but to understand ourselves through it and to keep a long-term vision to be able to reconstruct after difficult periods of time.
Well, not only are you the wife of the Prime Minister of Canada, who has probably the most stressful job in our country, but you're the mother of 3 young children. How has your perspective on all these issues changed being a mom? Because that's your most important job.
It is my most important job in the world. And I love children. I just adore children. And sometimes I will want to take into my family all the ones who are not doing well. It just breaks my heart. And during the pandemic, I spoke to a lot of mothers who were isolated across the country, and I could see the deep emotional distress. I think it's important. I think life has taught me to create detachment from what doesn't serve us to grow as individuals. And on a life path where criticism is a daily reality, yes, and where it is most of the time quite unfair and unjustified and based on people who had never met me, right? And who don't know anything about me. So I think I've worked hard enough and I've been disciplined enough, and I'm not saying it's perfect. I've got bad days like everybody else, but to detach from what doesn't serve us to become better people. And I think that my kids not only feed off of what I say, but most of all, they feed off my energy. They see me meditating and taking my time and slowing down on a super fast paced day. But here's the problem, is that most moms and dads don't have the luxury to slow down because we're stuck in such chaotic rhythms that it's become a luxury to be able to take 15 minutes a day for yourself. So we really need to re-examine the work structures, organizational structures that surround us in our daily lives. And this is why I'm doing these capsules, so we can inject a little bit of positivity and a safe place to be during people's day. But I'm also the new national volunteer for the Canadian Mental Health Association. Yes. And that will allow as well to democratize the conversation and the emotional literacy to so many Canadians, because they have 330 locations, 7,000 employees, 11,000 volunteers. It's just an incredible organization that will allow us to reach out to more people so people know that not only can they prevent, work with mental distress, but also that there's treatment and that people should have access to it. And I have to say that in this whole Canadian history, that it's the first time that the federal government has injected so much funds into mental health and taking this issue quite seriously.
Well, Sophie, congratulations on the great work you're doing. It was great catching up to you, and keep up all the great work.
I promise till my last breath, I will fight so that everybody becomes better inside their minds and their bodies, and that we're all in this together.
Fantastic. My guest has been Sophie Grégoire.